Baltimore County Design Review Panel is called to order. I am the chair, Cecily Bedwell. We'll start with a roll call to account for the members of the panel present on the call. And when you hear your name, please just say aye. Raj Sharma.
Aye.
And do remember to unmute before you say aye. Joseph Yusufero.
Aye.
Donald Kahn.
Aye.
Sauce.
Aye.
And we expect Ayan to join shortly.
I am here. I'm so sorry. My
no.
internet is down, so I'm using my phone to join. I'm not sure if my camera is working. Apologies.
No worries. Glad to have you. Thank you. Very good. So we will we'll get started here this evening, and just ask Marta briefly if there are any changes to the tentative agenda as published.
No, there are no changes.
Hey, this one should be somewhat brief since we only do have one item on the agenda. In November, it was an email sent on November 23rd. The panel members should have received draft minutes of the November 10th meeting. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the draft minutes? And if everyone has, assuming everyone has, are there any corrections or additions to the minutes of the November 10th DRP meeting? Hearing none, and if not, who would like to make a motion to accept the minutes as circulated?
So stand up. Oh, go ahead. Please go ahead.
So moved.
Very good. And sorry, I didn't see who said that.
Donald.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And do I have a second?
I'll second it. Thank you.
Very good. All in favor, say aye.
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 I think that's everyone. Very good. And then now I'll read through an opening statement. Bear with me. I know that most of the people on this call have already heard this, some multiple times, but we will read through it nonetheless. So Title IX, Subtitle 2, Part 1, Sections 32-4-203 and 32-4-204 establish the Design Review Panel, DRP. The DRP was established to encourage design excellence and shall act in a consulting and advisory capacity to the agencies involved in the process of reviewing development plans. The objectives for the DRP's assessment include spatial, visual, and functional relationships to the topographical characteristics, the natural and built features of the site, as well as the surrounding features of the site, visual and functional integration of streetscapes, pedestrian pathways, playgrounds, recreational amenities, and parks. Streets and sidewalks are laid out in a safe and convenient manner, and parking is a positive design element. Building, parking garages, and other structures are spatially and visually integrated and suitable to their surroundings in proportion. Massing and type of materials and colors. Signage and other elements of design and plant materials are selected and cited to define the site, provide a theme, frame view, enhance architecture and street character, improve the microclimate, provide transition between dissimilar uses, screen objectionable uses and views, and reduce noise levels and glare. In carrying out its duties, the DRP utilizes the guidelines, plans, and architectural principles in the Comprehensive Manual of Development Policies and/or Master Plan, as well as other guidelines and regulations adopted into law. Certain areas of the county were designated by the County Council to require review by DRP. The panel will provide a technical review of the proposed project, issues relative to zoning, setback relief, environmental and stormwater management, and traffic regulations do not fall under the purview of the DRP and are regulated through the appropriate agencies responsible for those aspects of the development plan review process. The panel consists of 9 members. All are professionals with practical knowledge in the matters of design. And for the purposes of making recommendations on a particular project, 3 members shall constitute a quorum. We have a quorum tonight with those in attendance. The attendance and comments of each member shall be recorded in the minutes, which shall be an open record and available along with all documents submitted to the panel for inspection and copying by the public. There will be an opportunity for the community to offer comments and suggestions at the conclusion of the applicant's presentation. These comments will be included in the written record of the meeting. When a speaker is called up to speak, if there are any present, please keep your comments focused on design perspectives within your allotted 2-minute time. If you're speaking on behalf of a community group, you will get 5 minutes. Then at the conclusion of the meeting, the Department of Planning will sum up the recommendations of the panel before a motion for vote is suggested. Recent legislation has changed the panel's recommendations to be advisory on the hearing officer and the various county agencies unless the hearing officer or agencies find that the panel's actions constitute an abuse of its discretion or are unsupported by the documentation and evidence presented. Disposition of the plan will be determined as either approved with conditions, additional review with a second meeting or third meeting is required. So with that, we'll move on to the agenda item. We do only have, as I mentioned, one agenda item for tonight, and that's the return of the Bandito's restaurant on 31 Allegheny Avenue, downtown Towson, commercial review resubmittal. And with that, presenter, Dustin and others, you have, I guess it's Dustin and Sean White, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. We have kind of put the package together with the recommendations that were provided in the last meeting. So some of this is, we can probably skip through fairly quickly. Who is Marta controlling? Yep. Yeah, we can skip through this kind of couple of sheets, the existing conditions, and stop at the site plans. We have updated the site plans per the recommendations to show how it's currently laid out. If you go to the next sheet, I've kind of zoomed in on the area. So here we're showing an addition of bike racks by the entrance, as well as the outdoor seating that runs along the front. You can also see this is where that canopy is. I don't know if you can see I guess you can't see my arrow. So that's been updated. If you want to go to the next. These are the plans. Next. Materials are the same that we had presented previously. Stop here. These, we've added these lights to show you which lights are along the facade. There's also a street light right in front of the office entry on the sidewalk. So we're adding some small sconce lights above the garage doors. We're adding 2 recessed lights under the canopy. And then there are some existing lights under that vestibule, currently the office vestibule. Next. And then we just put this in. This is the original scheme, just for reference. You can kind of skip through this. The big portion of it is the front side with the pink. And we've done a couple of options. This is the first one where we've reduced the pink. We've taken most of that off the sides of the buildings. It's kind of a, kept the graphic, the Banditos Taco and Tequila graphics on that side of the building. You want to go to the next one. At the rear, that was pretty much what we had. Next one. Next one. This is side elevation, so we, instead of the pink and blue stripes, we do kind of black and gray stripes, and keep just a little bit of pink on the ribbons. Next one. Rear elevation, we kept the sign in the middle. A little bit of pink at the top. Next one. And then that side, we took all the signs off. We're just painting the building to reflect what we had on the other side. Next one. This is a kind of view of that. Next. And then another scheme, scheme B, we have one scheme where instead of we keep some of the pink and blue as kind of a continuous band across the top, changing the kind of sign to white with pink lettering. Next. The back is the same. Next. It's the front. Next. So this would be that side elevation facing the parking lot. Instead of having the bands the whole way down, we just have them along the top. It's kind of a cap to the building. And then the sign is in white with pink lettering. Next. That's the same. Next. And then the other side. Sorry. Next one. That's what that would be looking from the circle. Next. And this is just a comparison of the three schemes. So the one on the left, or the sheets on the left, are the original scheme, and the sheets, scheme A and scheme B, next to beside it, just to give you a reference of the changes that we made. Next. And then this is just the update of the exterior signage that we had previously with some of those changes. So you can kind of flip through these. Same murals on the front. Next. Yep. These are just the details for that. And that's it. That's where we're at.
Very good. Thank you for that presentation. And I'm going to ask Marta if there are any speakers now signed up from the public for this project who would wish to speak at this time.
No, Cecily, we don't have any speakers, but let me check with Brett and Emery. Any speakers?
No, Marta.
Okay, so no speakers for tonight.
So may I ask you then to move on to the staff report, Marta?
Thank you, Cecily. So we prepared our staff report based on the revised drawings that the applicant provided, and also the staff report will follow the BCZR code references for the project conformance with the regulations as set forth in section 259.16 downtown housing district. So in regards to environmental sustainability, staff recommends approval. In regards to block configuration and site design, the applicant does not change the existing block configuration. Staff recommends approval of the proposed site design. In regards to parking, the applicant proposes to use the existing parking since there are no changes. Staff recommends approval of the proposed parking. In regards to downtown open space, staff recommends approval of the proposed open space. In regards to building and architecture, staff recommends approval of the proposed architecture subject to the following condition. The applicant provided the dimensions for the metal canopy overhang. However, the applicant needs to provide the height dimensions showing the distance from the canopy to the street level. In regards to building materials, the proposed materials for the building facade renovation are wood, Ecotone, aluminum composite panel system, roll-up doors, and a metal canopy over the entryway. Staff requests the DRP to clearly state if the DRP recommends the approval of the proposed materials for the project. In regards to lighting, staff recommends approval of the proposed lighting subject to the following condition. Number 1, provide light fixture at the rear of the building for pedestrian safety. In regards to sign, staff will defer approval of the proposed signage and the mural design to the DRP and offers the following comment. Number 1, the applicant needs to consider toning down the use of pink and blue colors. Also, the applicant needs to scale down the proposed signage size on the west facade as conditioned by the design review panel during the November 10, 2021 meeting. Number 2, the sign advertising the building address needs to be reviewed and accepted by Baltimore County Fire Department for appropriate. And this concludes our staff.
Very good. Thank you, Marta, for going through that. Now we'll move on to the panel discussion. And I'm going to start with Joseph Yusufero to lead us off in that discussion.
All right, good evening. Cecily, may I go a little bit later in the panel order? I do have some comments that I don't want to influence the other panel members.
Understood. Okay, very good. Mr. Sharma, we'll move on to you. Maybe muted, Mr. Sharma. I don't hear your audio.
Okay. Better now?
Yes, very
Okay.
good.
My apologies. Sorry about that. So what I was saying, I don't have any specific comment, but when it comes to making choices between the two options, I would rather prefer the first one, which is more gentle and a little softer than the other one.
Thank you. And Hayan Ra, if you could go next.
Sure. So I have a couple questions. If you could maybe go to the site plan, please. Okay, thank you. Could you please confirm for me what the pedestrian clear zone is between the entrance and the outdoor seating area? It looks a bit tight, but I couldn't really tell. Just for ADA purposes, I wanted to make sure that it's at least 4 feet. I think that's important. Can you hear me?
Dustin, are you there? It shows 8 feet on the drawing.
Oh, okay. I missed.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes,
Wait.
so we have a dimension of 8 feet.
Oh,
between
got it.
to the
Okay.
tables.
And then from where the awning ends and the tables, yeah, that should be more than 4. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was there. And are there any light fixtures or any lighting in the parking area at all?
Yeah, well, yes, there are light poles throughout the parking lot. There's double light poles here, here, and
Ooh.
down here.
Is that, do you know the lighting levels? Like, is that going to be enough for?
I mean, it's not on our property.
Honestly, yeah, that's not our property. That's another parking lot owned by another gentleman. So
But it's pretty bright right now. What's existing now?
Yeah, I think last time I was just wondering about the safety of the parking spaces that are adjacent to the blank wall that is part of your property. But I didn't see any lighting levels there, so I was just wondering about that. Okay, well, those are the questions. And in terms of environmental sustainability, like what are some things that you're implementing for your property?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is we're reusing most of the kitchen equipment, which
Mhm.
I think the embodied energy just in the kitchen equipment is probably makes it one of the
Okay.
most
Is it-
sustainable buildings. We're also putting, it's in a high density area instead of building a new building out. So
Okay.
we're reusing a lot.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. And in regards to just scheme A and B, I would also personally prefer scheme A. I think that looks seems to fit a little bit better. I'm not completely sold on the pink blue stripes, but I'll just defer to other panel members on that. And that's really all. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. We'll move on to Mr. Donald Kahn.
Yes, I had a couple of questions. Major one is the compliance of the signage requirements in terms of total size. That was a question that had been asked once before. Can you verify where you are with that?
These are in compliance with the zoning, Baltimore County signage zoning that from what we can understand.
Including the sign painted on the west wall?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the question came up too about the lighting at the back, because that alley's fairly dark.
Well, we have lighting on the back of the building and in the patio that's existing, that's going to be maintained.
Does that spill over at all outside of the patio space?
Well, a little bit. I mean, the middle, there's a gate in the middle that's like a metal gate. So some of that light spills out, yes.
Okay. And can you show the proposed for the front elevation? There were questions about the canopy. And how, the one that sticks out over that entry door, how high is that above the?
Well, it's about 9 feet. If you'll look at the 2 pages ahead, shows the door heights. That main entry door is 8 feet, and we're putting that about a foot above.
Okay. Those are my only questions.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Do you have any opinion on the schemes since there are two presented this evening?
Yes, I think the option A, I think, is going to be more successful in that location. Revised scheme A.
Thank you for that. We'll move to Julie Sauce next.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for the revised plans, and I assume the existing lighting is, like you said, very bright and still works in all locations, so that's not a concern. A question, you also said you didn't own the parking lot, so you're not able to do any landscaping improvements in front of it where there's just mulched areas. Is that correct, or are you allowed to do that?
It's not on our property.
Okay.
I have a relationship with that gentleman, as we may be, leasing some parking spots from him in the evening. So I, by all means, we care very much about the appearances of our buildings. I'm not sure if you've had time to venture to White Marsh and our other locations, but we pride ourselves in the appearance. So by all means, I'm sure he will let me handle that. And if that's the case, we will make sure that the curb appeal of our buildings is up top notch.
Great. That would be awesome. I think it would really add to the outdoor eating appeal area and just dress up that area and keep
Absolutely.
the pedestrian and vehicles, clearly defined and separate.
The last thing we want is people sitting out front in a not welcoming environment, for sure.
Thank you for actually recognizing that and caring. That's awesome.
You can hold me accountable to it too.
Great. I think my panel members did a good job with everything else. So I really like revised scheme A. I think that would look great. I think you're muted, Cecily.
Sorry about that. I was just remarking that A seems to be gaining traction, but we'll move on to Joseph Yusufera to hear his take and ask questions that he may have.
Good evening. And I also like Scheme A. So just some comments as it relates to the signs on the building, and I do a lot of zoning and sign work in the county, and specifically to the DT district in Towson, there is no regulations on signs. They are brought before the design review panel for review and approval. But what I did do is I looked at the sign code as it relates to if this building was not in the DT, what would be allowed, right? And the number of signs on the facades would be a maximum of 3, not more than 2 per facade. And the way that you calculate the total square footage is 2 times the length of the wall. So for example, if one of the walls is 85 feet, it would be 170 square feet allowed. I did a quick calculation on the building, and it looks like, just for informational purposes, so long as this project would be outside the DT, you'd be allowed 420 square feet of signage. As I look at the exterior of the front sign, the rear sign, as well as the colored band that counts for signage in the county's mind, because it's a branding thing and that's how they look at it. All of that would generally be in compliance. If you look at the side banditos, tacos, and tequila with the taco, I like it. I think it looks nice. But I'm a little concerned with the area, which is over 1,400 square feet, right? Allowable, 420. This is 1,400. When you add all this up, the bands, the fronts, the sides, it looks like it's about over 2,000 square feet of signage. Generally speaking, about 5 times the allowable. So then what I did is I took the next step and I said, well, are there any other districts in Baltimore County that could be similar to the DT? Because again, the DT doesn't have a specific signage regulation. And I looked at the CT district in the transit-oriented development in Owings Mills, right? So the CT is a commercial town center core, probably is somewhat equivalent to a Towson. And the code says that you're allowed 2 signs at 1,000 square feet each. Okay. So when you say 1,000 plus 1,000, we're looking at 2,000. That's pretty close to what you have here. So I just wanted to put that out there and say I like Scheme A. I like the side elevations of the pink band coming around to kind of bring the front to the back. I like the front, I like the back, and I do like the mural of the taco and the mural of the sign. So that is my long-winded way of saying I'm in support of it, and I did want to provide a little bit of backing on looking at the sign code. Nothing's written for the DT, but I did compare it to others, and I do think for the CT in Owings Mills and the DT in Towson, it generally is in conformance. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. And thank you for doing all the homework and calculations. It does give good perspective. So I would agree with the other panelists as well that Scheme A seems to be the most appropriate. I think also it subdues the sides while it allows that the area between the front and the back, the area between those party walls, to be something unique. I think if this building had kind of a continuous wall form wrapping, I think maybe I'd feel otherwise. and gave that some thought, but I think because of those strong party walls, having a differentiation between the front, rear, and then the sides in comparison is a little bit more, it strengthens it, and it, you know, again, it tones it down to those, the parking lot side and the adjacent building side. I agree that the mural painting feels appropriate. I think it was a little loud on the blue and pink, and actually a little less legible on that. I think on the gray black scheme with the pink banners, that also, you know, it achieves a balance between taking the comments of the panel and the county into consideration, but also having fairly good visibility. And so I think that's a win-win on, especially on the parking lot side elevation. My only remaining concern, honestly, I think the other panelists have done a good job, and I think the staff summed up some of the things. You've explained the rear lighting on the elevation is to remain. You've explained that the canopy off the sidewalk is about 9 feet. Probably want that documented. So the last remaining thing is, I know that you have 8 foot clear, but I think the bike racks, which we did ask for, might come into that clear pedestrian zone on the sidewalk. So again, I think you still have clearance, but I'd like to just take one last look at that to ensure that, you know, we haven't obstructed pedestrians for cyclists and, you know, we're still achieving that. So they do protrude out from where those planting beds are into that 8 foot zone theoretically, or no?
If you look at, if you zoom in on that,
Yeah,
the 8 foot goes to the table. We have a circle around the
I see
table
now.
that shows
Okay.
this. So the 8 foot actually is, the bikes are well or more than 8 feet.
Perfect. Okay, well that clears up that consideration. So with that concludes any of my comments or questions. So thank you for addressing that. And I'd like to, yeah,
Cecily, may I just jump in for one more comment?
yes, Joe.
As it relates to the staff report, I think staff asked the panel to comment on the materials. I think I saw that, Marta, on the staff report. So I think part of our motion should be we're in support, or we propose a modification. I'm not an architect, so I can't really comment on that, but perhaps Cecily or Donald can.
I'm trying to find that reference. I know that the signage.
Cecily, we just asked to clarify because last time we didn't get that from the panel. So if you
Oh, I see it here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So for my other the other panelist members, I don't want to be the sole voice on this, but I think I would say from my perspective, the materials are appropriate to Towson and downtown, and just overall to an urban environment with the metal canopy, wood, the aluminum composite panel system, and then I'll also add for the lighting that was shown this evening seems appropriate, as well as the mural paint color materials that have been proposed. Anyone else want to chime in on that as well?
I would agree, Cecily. I think the materials are appropriate.
Very good. And thank you for the reminder on that, Joseph. So with that, and if there are no further questions, I'd like to ask my fellow panelists if there's someone who would like to make a motion.
This is Joseph Yusufera. I'd be happy to make a motion. So I make a motion to approve the project conditioned upon the staff report with the confirmation that the materials presented by the applicant are appropriate, and the scheme A with the colors and the signage is approved.
Okay, I have a question on that motion, Joseph, just because I'm not sure, maybe it wasn't as clear, but you are basically saying it's conditioned upon the staff report with just staff review, no need to come back to the DRP panel. And that the conditions that are noted in the report and that the DRP panel recommends approval of the materials, including, and the signage, is because they asked for or input on those two items specifically.
Right. So my intent was to approve the projects such as the applicant can work any minor issues directly with staff, to approve the materials as presented in the packet, and as it relates to Scheme A, accept and approve the signage depicted in Scheme A.
That sounds clear to me. Anyone from the county need any clarification before I ask for a second?
Cecily, yes, this is Martha. So we, in our staff report, we asked that the proposed 31 address sign will be confirmed with, I can show the staff report how it's passed in our comment. The sign advertising the building address needs to be reviewed and accepted with Baltimore County Fire Department for appropriate.
Okay, so we will ask Joseph one more time just to kind of add that in, that the signage is also approved by DRP as presented.
Okay, let me try this one more time. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the project. And should there be any final minor comments, the applicant can work directly with staff and without the need for another public meeting. With the condition of accepting Scheme A, with the signage depicted on Scheme A being approved, as well as the sign advertising the building address should be reviewed and accepted by the Baltimore County Fire Department. And the materials presented in the applicant's packet are accepted.
Okay, well, I think that hit all those points. I checked them off as you went. I'd like to ask for a second at this time.
This is Donald. I'll second the motion.
Good, thank you. And now all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Not hearing everyone, so maybe we need to do a roll call there. I think maybe some mics were off, but let me just go through a roll call just so I know we can hear everyone. Joseph?
I made the motion, but aye.
Yep. Yes, we still all need to vote. Let's see. Ms. Raw? I'm losing audio. I'm not hearing folks, so just being sure you're.
Ms. Rao,
Yes. Oh, did you not hear me?
now we can hear you. Yeah, I just
Not working at all. Oh, I.
Very good, thank you. Let's see. Mr. Raw, let's see. Miss Sauce?
Aye.
Gosh, here we go. Donald Kahn,
Aye.
say aye. I think I got everyone. Myself, Mr. Sharma, Mr. Yusufero, Miss Raw, Mr. Khan, and Miss Sauce. So that's all in favor, and the motion carries. Thank you very much. I'd like to now ask for a motion to adjourn the board meeting as the last of this year.
This is Julie. I'll start the motion.
And do we have a second?
This is Joseph Yusufero. I second it.
Thank you all, and thank